To another video. Today we are going to make this card here, and I have two versions of this card, and I'm actually going to make a third version of it with you today. One I have a little bit more green. I decided to try these petals in green, and these I kept in pink. It's a personal preference. There's photos of all of them, so you can decide which way you like it. What I used to color these cards were dye-based markers, but people were asking, can I do this with my copics? And yes, you can. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. The first thing you're going to do is take your piece of vellum and you're going to emboss it with white embossing powder. But what we are going to do is color on the back of the vellum. Embossing powder is very toxic for copic markers. It gunks up the tips and then you have to replace them. It's kind of a mess. So you really do want to make sure that you're coloring on the back of it. And I just picked a light and a dark red. In this case I am using R35 and R39. Not a huge deal though, use what you have. And we're going to go ahead and start coloring. And you want to work in small areas. That's my light, and then I'm going to add my dark, flicking on top. Now let's flip this over, and you really need to put this on white to see what this looks like. You're going to get a soft watercolor look. This line is a little harsh, so I'm going to actually go back and blend this out a little bit with my copic. And because vellum is non-porous, the ink sits right on top of the vellum. There's no place for it to really go in, so you have to let it dry before you smear it. You need to let it dry before you smear it. So I'm going to just keep working at it. So this is my light, filling in my light areas. Adding some dark shadow. Can blend that out a little bit, soften those lines. Using your flick stroke. Let's see how we're doing here. Get that nice watercolor look to it. Just keep working your way around. You can also work, because these are copic markers, so unlike dye-based markers, this is my dark. So let's try putting the dark down first, and then adding the light over on top of it. Let's look at that petal and see how we like it. See, it looks exactly the same. You can't tell the difference. So it doesn't really matter which method you prefer. They both work. Kind of saves time to do it the other way, so I'm going to keep going dark to light. Now I'm going to switch over to my greens and add a little bit of green into these petals, and I'm going to work dark to light again. That seems to be working really well for this project. So this is my dark green. Then I'm going to go over that with my light green. Let's look at and see what that looks like. Nice pretty flower. And in this stem, I think I'm just going to use dark green in the part where it's really narrow. And then as it gets fatter, I'm going to switch into my light green. And I didn't blend any, if you watch the other video, I didn't blend any with this. But I think I will a little bit with my copics. And then with my dark, going in. Coloring where the veins are. Now I'm going to go back to my pinks and technically my reds to color this flower over here. And this is a really small flower, so I think I'm going to do all of it together. I'm just going to work very quickly so my ink doesn't dry. I'm using my flick stroke, using that to push that dark ink and spread that out so we get a nice blended look on my on the leaves or the petals. There we go, nice pretty flower. I'm just going to continue with the other three. And you know, I encourage you to do with what you're comfortable with. I'm used to coloring dark to light or light to dark. I use both all the time. So if you're more comfortable coloring light to dark, continue doing that. It will look exactly the same when you are finished. You can always double check what your work looks like, but just remember to color on the other side. I'm going to switch over to my greens because I'm going to do these petals in a green. And I go back to my pinks and do this little bud over here. I actually did that with my light first. Just going to add a tiny bit of red. Very pretty. I like the way that looks. So I'm going to continue on with my flowers here. And I'm only using 4 colors. Very simple. I'm not including a whole bunch of markers or shades. I want to keep this simple. I want it to look watercolory. This is definitely not your traditional copic coloring. While I have these, I'm going to do this little bud over here. And switch back to my greens. Just want to check. Very pretty. Got one last one to do. Very cool. Now you can see that we have them all colored. Before I put my Copics away though, what I want to do is check the tips of my markers to make sure that I don't have any contamination. And as you can see, I have a tiny bit from the dark red on my light red. This is very easy to fix. All you're going to do is take a piece of scrap paper and you're just going to color off on the scrap paper until the dark red is off of your light red. See? All gone. Now I'm going to put my Copics away and finish the card. First thing I'm going to do is glue my hello. I'm using a two-way glue pen. I like how easy this is to adhere letters and fine details. And I'm going to adhere that to my vellum. The other nice thing is this dries fairly quickly. Okay. Then I'm going to flip it back over and I'm going to put a little bit of glue on my green leaves. And I'm doing this because this is darker and I'm hoping that the green is going to hide the adhesive so you can't see that through the vellum. And then I'm also going to put it on the back of this hello again. And then adhere this to my white cardstock. Using the regular snail adhesive tape runner on the back of the white to adhere to your pink card base. And I thought it needed a little bling, so I have some rhinestones. And this will be the last part, and you have a finished card. There you go. And I'll have side-by-side pictures on the blog so you can see these side-by-side to see which one you like better. Thanks for coloring with me. Have a creative day.